April 21st, 2014 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Ansello?
Here.
Mr. Baroth? Here. Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Howland?
Here.
Mr. Willie Lightfoot is excused. Mr. Michike?
Here.
Mr. Morelli Jr.?
Here.
Ms. Taylor? Here. Mr. Yolovich?
Here.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
Yes, there is. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the committee, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our speaker is Tom Gregory.
I'll be brief. I'm speaking to the item number 4 on the agenda. As you know, there's been a debate. The debate might be moot at this particular time about outsourcing the Conflict Defender's Office. I have had a dealing with both the Public Defender as well as the Conflict Defender's Office. I've been represented by both. I will say something about, I think Mr. Donaher's office is pretty secure. I would hope that we would make that type of commitment to the Conflict Defender. I had on 2 occasions an opportunity of dealing with 2 men who served with the Conflict Defender's Office, one by the last name of Keenan and the other one by the last name of Waldorf. Mr. Waldorf was actually the district attorney on the opposite side of my case. And to talk about the quality of a legal counsel representing the people, he found a case that was really unique and which was the only case that would apply against me. What I'm trying to say is that that type of legal competence and capability is a type of person who goes from the district attorney's office. He later served with the Conflict Defender's Office. I'll point this out about Mr. Waldorf because I spend a lot of time at the appellate division listening to arguments made up there. And I always stopped to listen to a Waldorf case. Few in words, to the point, and economy. That's the type of quality that you have. Maybe we have a tendency to think the Conflict Defender's Office is, well, the other office. But let me mention Mr. Keenan. Mr. Keenan was district attorney before the criminal court, that's the Rochester City Court. And I had been assaulted by a man on the street. And I took Mr. Keenan aside prior to the first adjudication. I think they call that arraignment. And I told him, I said, look, all I really want to make sure is that the guy isn't a mental case. Mr. Keenan was able to use the law not to seek harsh justice, but a fair justice. Mr. Keenan also worked with the Conflict Defender's Office. And I need not speak about Kelly Probo, who when I asked Kelly Probo, I'd like to have my record, which was I wanted to bring before the appellate court, 4th Division, 4th Department. I said, I want this record. And she made sure that I got the record I wanted. What I'm talking about is our making a commitment to that office, like the same commitment that we've made to the Public Defender's Office, because there's competence, capability, and we're well represented as a county. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the March 24th, 2014 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. The next item on the agenda is new business.
Referral 14-0143, acceptance of a grant.
Moved by Legislator Michike, seconded by Legislator Howland. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the Chair of the Administration, I have a couple of questions regarding this item. My first is regarding the license plate readers and compatible software. How much of the grant funding of $50,000 goes towards the plate readers and the software combined?
Through the chair, Fred Ryan, Monroe County Office of Emergency Management. I believe the cost is approximately $44,000 out of the $50,000.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, that leaves approximately $6,000 for training. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you. Last year, we received the same grant in the amount of $100,000, and this year it's $50,000. What was the additional $50,000 spent for last year?
Through the chair, the additional money spent last year, I believe it was all equipment in the previous year in 2010.
No training, through the chair.
Through the chair, no.
Thank you. And then finally, I assume there's something in place to protect the privacy of individuals in general who go through the license plate reader?
Through the chair, Jennifer Curley from the Sheriff's Office. Yes, and we're actually finding out that the national database might be of question because each state is different in sharing information, so it might only be a statewide data system where we can access personnel information because that would be protected.
Interesting. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0144, acceptance of a grant from...
Moved by Legislator Holland, seconded by Legislator Taylor. Is there any discussion? Legislator Yolovich.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. This is a pretty significant decrease in funding. Can somebody explain why?
Bob Burns from the Office of Probation. Through the chair, it is technically a decrease in funding, but the prior funding was part of the federal stimulus package. It was money that was unspent by state DCJS. They made it available, whatever money that they had available at that time, to Monroe County to do some reentry work. That money was expended. There was no funding for a year or two, and now there's a new funding source that we applied for. So a little bit of apples and oranges, but it is technically a reduction.
Legislator Broth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I had a question about the Juvenile Reentry Task Force Committee. If you could give me a little understanding, is this a task force, a committee run by the agency or by the county, or what is this task force committee?
Through the chair, the federal and state initiatives call task forces to be set up. It will be chaired by the Hillside Reentry Coordinator, the person funded through this project. Monroe County will have multiple representatives on the task force: probation, DHS, and a couple of other agencies. Police agencies, state OCFS, the agency where most of these children will be placed, and a variety of community agencies comprise the task force.
Thank you. Through the chair, you actually predicted one of my questions, which was county representation. My final question regards to the number of youth served. According to the referral this year, this grant will serve approximately 50 youth with the reduced funding. Through the chair, is it correct to assume that more youth were served in prior years, but there was greater funding?
Through the chair, I'd have to check. That might be the case. The prior grant went longer than 1 year, so it might have been a bit more than 50 children for 18 months or so. I can check, but the number served is usually equal to the amount of funding that we're receiving from the state.
Thank you. Then through the chair of the administration, could you get that number to me before full-edge then?
Through the chair, certainly.
Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0145, acceptance of a grant.
Moved by Legislator Taylor, seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion? Legislator Broth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, referral refers to the Sheriff's Office getting an enhancement of the tactical team regional response capabilities through the purchasing of equipment and training. What sort of equipment are we talking about here?
Through the chair, Jennifer again. The critical incident vehicle, we were going to do some upgrades to that, along with some other ballistic protection and night vision equipment and some rappelling equipment.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, just a clarification. When you say a ballistic protection, are you referring to explosives or to like firearms?
Firearms.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item passes. Next item, please.
Referral 14-0146, acceptance.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Michikay. Is there any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, I was just wondering if the administration could talk a little bit about how the online council software voucher system will improve services of the Public Defender's Office.
Through the chair, it's a system. It would be an electronic system where we would have the attorneys who are on the ACP panel, Assigned Counsel Program, submit their vouchers electronically. It's a system that I witnessed, at least in one venue in Onondaga County. It creates efficiency and transparency.
Thank you. And just another question quickly. If you could just talk briefly about what the current case backlog is for the public defender appeals and how this system might improve that. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, Tim Donaher, Public Defender. The current appellate backlog in the Monroe County Public Defender's Office is approximately 40 months from the date of sentencing. It is our hope that the monies that are allocated in year one of this 3-year grant distribution, approximately $254,000, can reduce that backlog considerably to hopefully at the conclusion of that backlog program, the delay will be within what we consider acceptable delay of 24 months from the date of sentencing to the date the appeal is perfected.
Follow-up to that, have you seen in other communities where this has been implemented that they've seen significant reduction? And if so, what is sort of their average in the reduction of turnover time?
Through the chair, not every community has what we consider an appellate backlog. Given the volume of Monroe County, the number of appeals that we perfect each year, we are by far the largest county as far as criminal and family court appeals that need to be perfected each year. So most counties do not have a backlog that exceeds 24 months. Monroe County and Erie County are the two largest counties that do have a backlog. I can't speak to the efforts undertaken by the Erie County indigent defense providers to reduce that backlog. Certainly the funds that we've obtained from the state to address our backlog we think will work very quickly to reducing that backlog, as I said, from 40 months to the 24 months.
Thank you.
Legislator Baroff.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I have just one question regarding the language in the referral. It says that this would provide funding for the equivalent of 3 existing and 3 new full-time positions. Does that mean that there will be 3 new hires if this referral is passed?
Through the chair, yes. There will be some of the grant money in exchange for additional responsibilities undertaken by the Public Defender's Office. The monies will be used to offset existing salaries of 3 positions, and in addition to that, we will be adding 3 additional staff persons to the Public Defender's Office should the grant be approved by the full legislature.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Okay, there being no other matters, the April 21st, 2014 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned, and the next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held Monday, May 19th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.